Hi, welcome to today. And we're going to, today's video, we're going to start talking about depression. And sorry about that. We're going to talk about depression and what to do about it, because on a metaphysical level, it's important to know what to do with your depression. Depression is an epidemic and is consuming so many people's lives, and it's creating havoc and estranged relationships, fears, hopelessness, helplessness, deep grief. So this depression is really important for us to look at, because these intense feelings can take over your life. And there'll be times when you feel depressed, and others kind of will feel depressed, but sometimes their depression is like huge, or it consumes their lives. So in this video, it's going to be for those who are ready to look at the metaphysical and healing side of depression, my cuckoo clock, and the loneliness that comes with it. So I want to look at that in this video. So let's start with the metaphysical understanding of depression and that feeling of loneliness that accompanies it. Since everything is energy, including our bodies, we're always interacting with everything around us. There's always an interaction of our energies. And have you ever been like sitting in a chair for a while, and after a couple hours, your energy actually stays in that chair for a while? It's because the energy leaves an imprint in there. So everything around us is imprinting. So let's say you walk into a room where there's been an argument, and a heated argument, let's say, and it feels heavy, and you know something's off. That's the energy of the other person interacting with you. So the energy in the room and the energy of the person is interacting with you. Our energy can be shifted by using a lot of different spiritual techniques, and the energy in depression can be changed. The basics of cord cutting and chakra clearing are some of the most powerful methods and easiest tools that I know to clear energy away. So you can actually, depression can come from energy, and it can come from other people's energy, and that's where people don't understand. You can actually take on other people's energy, and that can help feed the depression. Energy of parents, of siblings, of partners, in your office. So clearing chakras and cutting cords are really helpful with depression. I know depression is really complex, and that there are millions of chemical reactions within a depressive mood, or in your moods or emotions. So that's a chemical reaction. And we all have these chemicals in our bodies. So why do some of us only experience mild depression, while others it's a deep, long, slippery slope of depression? Are we those victims to that chemical reaction in our bodies, or the neural pathways in our brains? No, we are not victims to that energy. It's been proven that the brain has neuroplasticity, which means that you can change the pathways within your brain and the chemical reactions to it. So you can change those chemical reactions. It's very important because so many people suffer from depression. They're being told by media and by doctors that the only way out of that depression is antidepressants. Now, I want to be clear on a side note, if you're currently taking any sort of prescription drugs, you never ever go off those prescription drugs without a doctor's helping you through that. Very, very important, because it can be detrimental. So you may feel like you're depressed or alone because of a difficult life event that happened to you. But really what it comes down to is you feel separate from your soul group. You're used to that connection and experience this connection while you're on the spiritual plane. And that connection is so strong that when you come here, it's hard to deal with this disconnected feeling. So depression actually comes from that disconnection feeling. So think about it. If you feel alone, disconnected, or no one understands you, and it's all because in this spiritual world, you're used to communicating telepathically. So there's never any misunderstanding or miscommunication on that level. You feel loved by your creator and your soul group, and you feel connected, and you feel love from yourself. So when we choose to come here, we forget about the duality of this plane and how painful it can really be, and it becomes disheartening, and we feel disconnected. As spiritual beings, we're kind of used to that oneness and the love that comes with it. It's our true nature and our true state of higher consciousness. So when we start to experience worldly traumas, it can trigger those chemicals of depression. And this state of separation is not our natural state, right? So it's not a natural state of ours. We're not used to that. Sorry, I had to fix something on my computer. We're used to being in those higher states of consciousness, like oneness, inner joy, inner peace, love, expansion, bliss. We know on some level that all these higher states of consciousness are possible, and we know that we should be experiencing them, but something's blocking them because we're used to the higher states of consciousness. And when we come here, we become desperate to find those higher states of consciousness. And in that desperation, we start looking to the world to help us. So we believe that the higher state of consciousness is outside of us, right? So we want to possess them in order to have them. So we may fall in love and discover that the love that we have doesn't actually fulfill that gap and that need for the higher state of consciousness of love, the higher state of love, like the higher state. You buy a car to find bliss and joy, but that doesn't seem to work. Like nothing seems to be working. You start helping others, hoping to fulfill that need of oneness and expansion, but to no avail. Nothing happens. Do you see what I'm saying here? Since we can't find these higher states of consciousness that we're used to experiencing, right? We're used to experience this on the spiritual plane. And we start feeling alone, which starts triggering those chemical reactions within our brain and our body that cause depression. These higher states of consciousness are already within you. They're already there. They're not out there somewhere, so you can't find them. You have those higher states of consciousness within you. They're just being covered by trauma or pain or hurt and all these things that you've held onto in your life. We create our reality and our state of physical, mental, and emotional health and bodies. We'll talk more about creating our reality in our next video, so I don't really want to get into it now, but for now, just trust that we're creating our reality here. And what we're experiencing in our reality, we're creating. So what has happened is that these neural pathways in your brain, we've become used to the depression in these neural pathways. So each time depression is triggered within you, these chemicals in the brain go, yeah, I know this. I remember this. I've done this before. So it's easier to fall into the depression the next time and the next time and the next time, and it stays longer. But since the brain has this neuroplasticity, which is awesome, these pathways can be rewired toward new pathways of love and connection. And that's the beauty of it. So remember the saying that like old dogs can't learn new tricks. So that's not true. You can teach your brain and the chemicals in your body to react differently. It's a training. It's not just going to happen. It's like a physical training. So what we've talked about so far is energy, that we create our own reality, that we miss feeling those higher states of consciousness. And all these things trigger depression because we don't have these higher states of consciousness. So I know what you're going to say. I know, Melissa, my father abused me. I lost my job. My spouse left me. All these things are creating my depression. But the trigger of depression was already within you, waiting, and it was dormant to come out. It was there because humans are used to depression as an internal signal. So depression is actually this internal signal within us to tell us something is wrong and that we need to change. Yep, right? It's our wake-up call. So take action to change, to make life different. And when we ignore it or feed the depression, it'll become more and more part of your identity. So the tools, I love to give tools, so that I would suggest about reconnecting with all that you are, those higher states of consciousness. Some of them, meditation would be a big one. It's one of the greatest tools to help you start to reach those higher states of consciousness. So meditation is what the yogis and the Buddhists have been using for centuries. And in the Christian, it's a prayer. So it's a meditative prayer. In order for higher states of consciousness to be present, you need to release that old trauma and do some healing work around those higher states of consciousness. I've seen so many make major changes in their lives with issues with fears, phobias, by releasing old trauma and allowing higher states of consciousness to come out and come through. Helping others is another great way, or being of service helps you with depression. It stops you from focusing on your own misery at hand and to help others. And when you help others, you serve yourself, another soul in need, and many others all at once. Sweetie, stop. My dog is licking, so I'm just trying. So this is the higher state of oneness that you know of, helping others. So I've used my own healing techniques with depression and feelings of anger and loneliness. And I suggest that you take charge of your mental health today and do something about the depression or the things that are coming up for you that are messing with you. My experience is really related to metaphysics and the emotional psychological healing methods. And I can only really speak from that perspective. And I recommend that you see a doctor if you have any feelings of suicide or that you can't get out of bed. I'd also encourage you to seek out alternative methods of healing. But if it's really a bad, deep depression, go to a doctor and use alternative methods. I'd say the same thing if somebody had cancer, like use traditional and non-traditional if that's where you fall into. And I'm just wondering if anyone has any questions or anything that they would like to know more about. You can email me, ask questions below, ask me here as well. I don't see any questions in the chat. So we will conclude our video here. But what I want you to understand is that these higher states of consciousness are possible for everyone, and that it's not something that you can find outside of yourself. It's not something that you can find by buying a car. It's within you, and it's releasing all those old traumas, because that's what's triggering your phobias. That's what's triggering your feelings of depression and loneliness. It's old stuff. It's not the new stuff, it's the old stuff. So you have a beautiful, blessed day. And until the next time, take your charge of your life, live your life fully, and allow yourself to be one with all.